Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video we're going to look at adding and subtracting algebraic fractions part 2. So this is for GCSE Further Maths and this is the second of the 3 videos we're going to be looking at for GCSE Further Maths. So our first example says simplify 3 over x plus 1 x plus 4 plus 8 over x minus 2 x plus 4. So here we're adding together two fractions. Now the denominators have been factorised. But if we have a look at the denominators, they are slightly different. They both have x plus 4 and x plus 4, but this one is x plus 1 times x plus 4, and this one is x minus 2 times x plus 4. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by x minus 2, because that's the bracket that's missing on the denominator. So we need to multiply both the numerator and denominator by x minus 2. And with this fraction, we're missing the x plus 1, so we need to multiply both the numerator and denominator by x plus 1 so that they have the same denominators. So let's do that. So let's start up by multiplying this fraction, both the numerator and denominator of this fraction, by x minus 2. So the numerator would be 3 and then in brackets x minus 2. I'll expand that bracket later. And then over. And then we're going to have our x plus 1. And then we've got our x plus 4. And then finally we've got our x minus 2, what we're timesing it by. So we're timesing both the numerator and denominator by x minus 2. So that's the first fraction, and as you can see that fraction has now got all three brackets, x plus 1, x plus 4 and the x minus 2. Now for the second fraction we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by x plus 1. So that would mean on the numerator we'd have 8 and then in brackets x plus 1. And then in terms of the denominator, we're going to multiply this denominator by x plus 1 as well, because we're multiplying both the numerator and denominator by x plus 1. Now in terms of where we're going to put the x plus 1, we could, if we wanted to, put it on the end, so we could write x minus 2, x plus 4 and then x plus 1. But I like to keep them in the same order, so I'm going to write it as x plus 1 at the front and then x plus 4 and x minus 2. So I have moved around those brackets on the denominator of this fraction, but I've still got all three brackets. We had that bracket and then that bracket and then the x plus 1 that we're timesing it by, and we'll just move the order around, because remember that if you do 1 times 2 times 3 you get 6, but if you do 3 times 2 times 1 you get 6, or 2 times 1 times 3 you get 6, and so on. Okay, so we have now got our two fractions with the same denominators, and we've just moved those brackets around so it matches this one. You don't have to, but I just like to do it there. You can actually see they're the same straight away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand the brackets on the numerators. So I'm going to expand this bracket and expand this bracket. I'm going to leave the brackets on the denominators as they are, because you may find later on that you can simplify the fraction, so it's actually better to leave them factorized like this. Okay, so let's expand the brackets on the numerators. So we've got 3 times x, so that's going to be 3x, and then 3 times minus 2, that'll be minus 6. And then you've got the line and then the denominator, which is x plus 1, x plus 4, and x minus 2. And then if we expand our bracket here, we've got 8 times x, that's 8x, and then plus, and 8 times 1 would be 8. Just multiplying everything inside that bracket by 8. And then we've got our denominator, which is x plus 1, x plus 4, and then our x minus 2. So this is fantastic. We've now got two fractions with the same denominators. Now what we can do is we can add the numerators together. So I'm just going to move this slightly across to the left here, just to give us a bit more room. You probably can't do that if you do it on paper, but I can do it here. So just move that over, and I'm just going to now add together the fractions. So remember, whenever you're adding together two fractions with the same denominators, you just add together the numerators. So let's start off with the x's. You've got 3x's plus 8x's, and 3x's plus 8x's would be 11x's. That's 11x. And then we've got minus 6 plus 8. And minus 6 plus 8, well, if you're at minus 6 and you go up 8, you're going to get to 2, so it'll be plus 2. And then our denominator, which is x plus 1, x plus 4, and then x minus 2. And that's it. In terms of the numerator here, this can't be factorized, so you always check and see if you can factorize that numerator, because if you get a bracket on the numerator that's also on the denominator, you can divide both the numerator and denominator by that bracket, and it just simplifies it a bit. And the question said to simplify, so you want to just make sure that you can't simplify. And that's it. So if we have to add together these fractions, the answer would be 11x plus 2 over x plus 1, x plus 4, x minus 2. And just a note here, if you had these brackets on the denominator in a different order, as long as you've got the three brackets in, it's still right. Okay, let's have a look at our second example. So our second example, we've been asked to simplify 7 over x minus 1 to x plus 3, subtract 3 over x bracket x minus 1. So here we're subtracting these algebraic fractions. It's quite a nice question because the denominators have been factorised for us. That's quite nice. In part 3 of this trilogy, we're going to have to actually factorise the denominators before we deal with the algebraic fractions and adding them, subtracting them and so on. But in this example, it's quite nice because it's been factorised for us. Okay, so here we've got 7 over x minus 1 to x plus 3. Now I notice here that this x minus 1 on this denominator is also here. We've got our x minus 1 here. So if we want to get a common denominator, what I want to do is I'm going to have a look and see what's missing on this denominator, and that's the x. So we're going to need to multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by x. And in terms of this fraction, we're going to need to multiply both the numerator and denominator by the 2x plus 3. And then that means that both denominators will become x minus 1, 2x plus 3. Okay, so let's do that. So let's multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by x. So we're going to have 7. So 7 times x would be 7x. And then in terms of the denominator, we need to times by x as well. Now, whenever I'm timing this by x, we could in theory write x minus 1, 2x plus 3, and then x. I tend to want to write, and it's quite normal to see the x at the front. So whenever we multiply this by x, we're going to put the x at the front. So x, and then in brackets, x minus 1, and then 2x plus 3. It's just normal to write it in that order where we put the x at the front rather than the x at the end. So you normally write something like this as x, and then in brackets, x minus 1, rather than x minus 1, and then x. It's just common practice to put that x at the front. And that's it. So we've multiplied both the numerator and denominator of this fraction here by x. So we've got 7x on the numerator, and now we've got our two brackets, but also we're timesing it by x as well. And then we've got subtract, and then we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by what's missing, which is the 2x plus 3. So the numerator will become 3, and then we're going to times it by 2x plus 3. And then in terms of the denominator, we had x and then x minus 1, so x and then x minus 1, and then we're going to times it by our 2x plus 3, so 2x plus 3. So as you can see, we've multiplied both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by x, and we've multiplied both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by 2x plus 3. And we didn't do anything with the x minus 1 because it was already on both denominators anyway. Okay, so that's fantastic. So now as you can see here, we've got our denominators. They're the same as each other. And so what we're now going to do is we're going to expand our bracket on the numerator of the second fraction. This fraction, actually, we don't need to do anything with the numerator. It's just 7x. But here we need to expand this bracket. So let's do that. So we've got 7x, then over x bracket x minus 1 to x plus 3. Then subtract. Okay, and then in terms of this fraction, the denominator will stay the same. We've got x bracket x minus 1 to x plus 3. And then we're going to expand our bracket in the numerator. 3 times 2x would be 6x, and 3 times 3 would be 9, so plus 9. Okay, so this is fantastic. We've now got our two fractions with the same denominators. We're now just going to take away to see what the numerator would be. So let's do that. And I've just moved it over to the left there just to give us a bit more room. And just a note here, we're not expanding the denominators because we may be able to cancel down later on, so I'm just leaving those as they are. Okay, so let's take away the fractions. So remember, whenever we're subtracting two fractions with the same denominators, the denominators will stay the same. So it'll be x bracket x minus 1 to x plus 3. And in terms of the numerator, we had 7x, take away 6x, that's just going to be 1x or x. And then in terms of the numbers, we've got, there's nothing here, so that's 0, subtract 9. And 0 subtract 9 would be minus 9, so just minus 9. So here we didn't have any numbers there, so we're just subtracting 9, and so we've got 0, take away 9, which would be minus 9. So that's fantastic. So we've now got x minus 9 over x bracket x minus 1 bracket 2x plus 3. Now let's just check. The numerator can't be factorised, so we can't factorise that, so that means we can't cancel anything down. And that's it. So that's our answer. So if we were asked to simplify 7 over x minus 1 bracket 2x plus 3, subtract 3 over x bracket x minus 1, the answer would be x minus 9 over x bracket x minus 1 bracket 2x plus 3. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. So next question, we've been asked to simplify 6 over x minus 1 times x plus 5, subtract 3 over x plus 2 times x plus 5. So if we have a look at these, well, the denominators have been factorised, that's fantastic. And actually we can spot here that we've got x plus 5 here, and we've got x plus 5 here. So that means that if we want to get a common denominator, we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator of this fraction, the first fraction, by the bracket it's missing, which would be x plus 2. And then in terms of the second fraction, we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by x minus 1. And then that will give us our common denominators. Okay, so let's have a look at the first fraction. So we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator for this fraction by x plus 2. So multiplying the numerator by x plus 2 will be 6 and then brackets x plus 2. close brackets. And then the denominator will be, well, we've got x minus 1 times x plus 5, and then we're going to times that by x plus 2. Then we've got to subtract, and now we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator of the second fraction by x minus 1. So multiplying the numerator by x minus 1, we'll have 3 bracket and then x minus 1. And then we're going to multiply the 2 brackets on the denominator by x minus 1. Now we could write x plus 2 times x plus 5 times x minus 1, but I'm just going to change the order so it matches the other fraction. So we're going to write x minus 1 times x plus 5 times x plus 2. So that's fantastic. We've now got our 2 fractions with the same denominators. So let's expand the brackets on the numerators. So in terms of the first bracket, we've got 6 times x, that's 6x, and then plus, and 6 times 2 would be 12. So that's expanding the first bracket there. Then over, and that's still over x minus 1 bracket x plus 5 bracket x plus 2. So we've expanded the brackets there for our first fraction. Now we've got subtract, and now let's expand the bracket on our second fraction. So 3 times x would be 3x, and then 3 times minus 1 would be minus 3. And then that's still over x minus 1, x plus 5, and x plus 2. Okay, so we've now got our fractions with the same denominators, and we've expanded the brackets on the numerators. Now let's take them away. So we're going to take away, remember, whenever we're subtracting fractions with the same denominators, we just take away what's on the numerators. So we're going to do 6x plus 12, subtract all of this, 3x minus 3. So let's deal with the x's to begin with. So we've got 6x's, take away 3x's. And 6x's take away 3x's would be 3x's. And now let's deal with the constants, or the numbers. We've now got 12, subtract negative 3. And whenever you do 12 subtract negative 3, or 12 minus 3, you're subtracting a negative, so it's going to go back up. So we're going to do 12 plus 3. And 12 plus 3 is equal to 15. So it'll be plus 15. And that's all over x minus 1, x plus 5, and then x plus 2. Close brackets. Okay, so we're almost done here. Now before we finish, we just need to check and see, can we factorize the numerator and will anything cancel out? So here we've got, if we have a look at the numerator, we've got 3x plus 15. Well here, both of these terms are divisible by 3, so we can factorize. So let's do 3 and then in brackets. And then if we divide both of the terms on the numerator by 3, we'll get 3x divided by 3 is just x, or taking the 3 out, you'll be left with x. And then plus, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. So we've factorised the numerator there, and we've got 3 bracket x plus 5, close brackets. And then the denominator will still be x minus 1, x plus 5, and then x plus 2. Now this is great because actually now this time we can see we've got the same bracket on the numerator and the denominator. So remember whenever you're cancelling down fractions, so for instance if we had something like 15/20, we could divide both the numerator and denominator by 5 and you get that's equal to 3/4. Well here we can divide both the numerator and denominator of this fraction by x plus 5. So if we divide the numerator by x plus 5 we'll just be left with 3, and if we divide the denominator by x plus 5 we'll be left with x minus 1 times x plus 2. So these will just cancel out and we'll be left with, whenever we just cancel those out, we'll be left with on the numerator 3, and on the denominator we'll be left with x minus 1 times x plus 2. So x minus 1 times x plus 2. And that's it. So in this question it was just a little bit different than the ones we've looked at so far, because this time whenever we factorise the numerator we could actually cancel down the fraction at the end, and we've given it as our final answer as 3 over x minus 1 times x plus 2. So that's it. So this has been the second of the Corbettmaths videos on adding and subtracting algebraic fractions for GCSE Further Maths. This video has been focusing on adding and subtracting fractions where the denominators have already been factorised for you. Now let's have a look at some adding and subtracting algebraic fractions whenever we need to factorise the denominators before we add or subtract the fractions. So that's part 3, and we'll have a look at that now. And actually I'm just going to put a thumbnail on this video so you can click that thumbnail to go straight to that video. And just also to mention, if you have found this video useful, please like it and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.